our pleasure to welcome you to Basel for the FEI Dressage World Cup Western Europe League. 4 leagues make this series truly global and provide athletes from all around the world with an opportunity to qualify for the final, which will be taking place.
Hello, Happy New Year and a very warm welcome to this first FEI World Cup dressage competition of 2023 here in Basel, Switzerland. The FEI World Cup is the most prestigious individual competition in the international dressage calendar, a truly global series that started in 1985 and that covers 4 leagues across the world, including the Pacific, North American, Central European, and the Western European League. The best 9 athlete and horse combinations from the Western European League will qualify for the final, which is being held in Omaha in the United States of America in April this year. The riders have had 11 chances of qualifying in 9 countries over 6 months. But we welcome you to the 7th leg here in Basel. Now we have a fantastic lineup of 15 horse and rider combinations coming forward for this Grand Prix, including riders and horses from the World Championships in Herning last summer, as well as our Olympic, World Cup and European champion. We have some huge names in the dressage world, including past championship medalists and World Cup champions. They will all be looking to pick up some valuable points today. We will have a look at the start list in just a few moments' time. I'm Natasha Baker and I am so excited to be watching along with you. It is actually the first time that dressage has been here for the World Cup in Basel, so really exciting to have this new addition in the World Cup dressage calendar. As I said, this is the 7th league. We have 11 legs in total. They will be running over the next couple of months. Next up is actually Amsterdam on the 28th of January. Then we head to Neumünster on the 19th of February. Gothenburg in Sweden the 25th of February. And then last up is Togenbosch in the Netherlands on the 11th of March. And then, as I said, the finals will be in Omaha in the USA in the middle of April. Over the last few months, we've seen wins from Carina Casacruz and Helene Stansera. That was in leg 1 in Wilhelmsburg. Jessica von Bredow-Werndl took leg 2 in Lyon with her brand new music on TSF de Liere BB. We're very much looking forward to seeing them here in Basel this weekend. Leg 3 saw Ingrid Klimke take the top spot on Franziskus FRH. And then it was another win for Germany in Madrid with Frederick von Dres and Duke of Britain FRH taking those 20 points. And it was the turn of world number 1 Lottie Fry and her World Championship ride, Glamourdale. They wowed us in XL London to take the win. That was another plus 90% score. And then the final show of 2022 was in Mechlin when Dinja van Liere and Hermes NOP danced their way to the top spot just a couple of weeks ago. The arena is set here in Basel for the first ever World Cup dressage. Leg 7 of this Western European League. The lights are dimmed at the moment, but we have plenty of spectators. Make sure you join us as well tomorrow for the Grand Prix Freestyle. That will be at 7:30 UK time, 8:30 Central European time. These 15 riders coming forward to this Grand Prix will, of course, qualify for that Grand Prix Freestyle tomorrow. And as I said, we have a fantastic lineup of horse and rider combinations coming forward today for this class. A great atmosphere in this arena here in Switzerland. You can really see the atmosphere building. And we have a very, very strong start. We will, of course, bring you that start list in just a few moments' time. These are the judges. At E, Hans Christian Matheson from Denmark. At H, Hans Voser from Switzerland. At C, Magnus Ringmark from Sweden. Then at M, we have Raphael Slee. And finally at B is Katrina Verst. And this is the standings so far. Ingrid Klimke is out in the lead with 55 points. Morgan Barbesson for France in 52. Thamar Zweistra, she's coming forward today. She's in third at the moment with 51 points. So all these riders are going to be looking up, picking up some more points today. And here's the start list. Dorothee Schneider and Showtime FRH for Germany coming forward first. Estelle Wettstein, then you can see further down the line, Thamar Zweistra is coming in. And just before the break, we have Jessica von Bredow-Werndl and TSF de Liere BB. After the break, we can look forward to Benjamin Werndl, Jessica's brother. He is coming into the arena just before Patrik Kittel and Forever Young. We also have Dinja van Liere, Nanna Merrald, and last to go is Isabell Werth. But first into the arena now. It is the first rider for Germany. Germany have got a very strong contingent coming forward for this competition. Dorothee Schneider is ranked 24th. She's riding Showtime FRH, the 17-year-old Hanoverian gelding by Sandro Hitt. These are a very, very established and successful partnership. They're medalists from the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, where they helped Germany win the team gold. In Rio 2016, they won individual bronze. And at the 2019 Europeans, they won individual double silver. They haven't actually been out since Tokyo 2020, where they were 5th in the Grand Prix with 78.820 and 4th in the special with 80.608. So into the arena now for Germany. It is Dorothee Schneider and Showtime FRH. This is Dorothee's third World Cup qualifier, having competed her other ride, Faustus 94 in Wilhelmsburg, where they finished 8th in the freestyle, and Stuttgart, where they were 5th. A really strong start, a fantastic square halt to start with. Nicely on the marker there at X. Horse has a lot of expression. Just like to see the frame open a little bit more there in those half passes. You can just see him just creeping a little bit behind the bit. Dorothee doing a good job. You can see how they're encouraging him forward into the bridle in those half passes. As she comes round and prepares for the halt at C, a lovely transition, and again into a square halt there. Really takes her time in the halt. You want to see at least 3 seconds. Again, nice smooth transition back into the collected trot, ready for this extended trot. Nicely coming from behind there. Good clear ground cover in the extended trot as she comes round in the passage. Lots of air time there in the passage. Nice regularity into the piaffe. Just lost the rhythm there coming back into the passage. Regained it nicely before they come into the walk, and again a lovely active transition into the walk, and straight away you can see great ground cover here in the walk, really taking that stride out, showing a good clear over track. Like to see more consistency in the stretch down. You can just see the horse playing with the bit a little bit. Really, really want to see the whole body extend there in the extended walk. A good pick up. Just watching that rhythm here in the walk. This horse actually has a very, very big overtrack, especially in the walk, and that carries on into the collected walk. Dorothee doing a really good job of managing that. And again, a really difficult transition there into the passage. Just lost the rhythm. And again, here in the Piaffe, just having some miscommunications. That's a real shame, just losing the regularity and the rhythm there in the passage. And that will pull her score down. Now she moves up into the canter. Now she prepares down this short side, ready for the 2-time changes. Nice and correct 2-time changes here. Could just cover the ground a little bit more in those changes. I'd like to see a little bit more airtime, I think, for the higher marks. Good clear difference here in the extended canter. Could have used that whole diagonal. I feel like she came back a little bit too soon there. It started off really nicely and then faded towards the end as she came back at K. And into these half passes on the centre line. 6 strides either way. Good uphill flying changes there. Really nice and accurately ridden. Yeah, a little blip in the middle. Not necessarily a big mistake, just lost the balance halfway through in those 1-time changes. You could see as they went on, the balance was just going more and more onto the shoulder rather than him sitting and really pushing up into a lovely uphill frame from the hind leg. Lovely and centered in that canter pirouette to the left, maintaining that activity nicely. And you can just see there as Dorothee comes into the canter pirouette, really, really getting that balance on that inside hind leg and coming round on that very, very small circle. Beautiful on the canter pirouette right, picking up 8.5s from 3 of the judges there. You can see the score picking up now. Again, some nice steps in the extended trot. I think for the slightly bigger marks for the extended trot, you'd like to see that frame open a little bit more. Getting 7.5s and an 8 for that movement. And again, here you can see I'd just like her to be able to keep that pole up at the highest point. Better transition now coming into the Piaffe. After those miscommunications in the last Passage Piaffe transition, much, much better there at X. As she comes into her final halt there. A lovely test from the fantastic Dorothee Schneider and Showtime FRH. Their first time back into an international arena since the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. So a long break for this partnership, but it's great to see them back inside the whiteboards. This horse, 17 years old this year and still showing so much talent. Lovely suppleness shown in the test. Just at times I felt like he got a little bit tense, and that's where you could see him drawing back in the bit, and I kept saying, you know, try and keep that pole up at the highest point. But here are the scores from E 68.913, from H 77.935, at C 74.022, at M 75.543, and at B 75%. So that gives her a total average score of 74.283. Some really lovely movements there. Quite a big discrepancy actually in the marks from the judge at E. A little bit lower than the rest of the judges. But that's why we have those 5 judges around the arena. They're all seeing different things. But as I said, lovely to see this partnership back in the arena and doing so well. And I think tomorrow this horse is going to come out with even more confidence. You know, having been out of the game for a little while, it does take a little bit of time to adapt and come back into the arena. So we move on now to our second partnership, and it is one for the home nation. It is Estelle Wettstein and Quarterboy. This is a 13-year-old Oldenburg gelding by quarterback out of Rubenstein Noir Mare. After competing at the 2021 European Championships, where they finished 27th in the Grand Prix with 71.087, they've had a good season in 2022. They had 2 podium finishes in Onago in March with 70.652 in the Grand Prix for second and 73.445 in the freestyle for third. Then in Mannheim, they also scored 2 plus 70% scores for top 10 finishes. They were selected for the World Championship team in 2022, but Estelle had to withdraw because her father suffered a heart attack. So, of course, she had to put family first. Estelle rode Great Escape Camelot in Stuttgart World Cup qualifier in November. They finished 13th in the Grand Prix with 68.739 and 12th in the freestyle with 75.570. So into the arena now for Switzerland, it is Estelle Wettstein and Quarterboy. Estelle was the individual rider that represented Switzerland at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. She also rode West Side Story OLD there and finished in 41st place. Came up through the youth classes, so very experienced member of the Swiss team. Unfortunately, had a little blip in that first halt. Weight was a little bit backwards, so the horse stepped back and was just a little bit unsettled in that first halt. So a little bit of a lower score to start with, but plenty of expression there in that lovely extended trot. Again, another horse with plenty of expression. Really nice positioning here in the trot half pass. Plenty of ground cover. Could just see a little bit more from the hind leg. Better there on the short side. Just having a little look at the marker at C. Much better into the halt there. Lovely and square at C. A little bit of tension again there creeping in at the end of that rein back. Again, that just pulling that mark down. I just don't really feel like he's let her in yet. Just looks a little bit tight over the back. And just would like to see a little bit more swing through the body. He could just take a little bit of a breath and let Estelle in and really, really ride him. Lovely transition into the piaffe. Really nicely on the spot, keeping that activity, keeping that balance on the hind leg, scoring really, really nicely for that piaffe. 4 8s and 7.5 there. See Estelle just offering the horse a little pat as she comes into the walk. And again, this is where you can see the tension coming through. No real clear over track, not actually tracking up at all. And again, that's just him holding his breath, holding his body a little bit tight. You just want to see him relax into it a little bit more. Estelle doing a really good job of just managing this walk. And you can see her there. This is actually the collected walk. So you would imagine that she'd have shorter reins and have him a little bit more connected. But I'd imagine if she did that, I think that he might just get even more tense than he already is. He knows that that passage is coming. And again, we can see the tension coming into that transition. Lots of 5s and 4s there for the walk tour. Seems much happier now. He's back into the trot work. And again, lovely steps here in the piaffe. For those higher marks, as I said, you would just want to see more suppleness over the back, a little bit more submission. And again, there you can just see the tension creeping in through the mouth just after she came into the canter, just opening his mouth slightly. But I think she's giving him a really, really good round here. And that's going to give him plenty of confidence as well. Having a nice clear round today in this Grand Prix, she can come in tomorrow and hopefully this horse will be more settled in the arena. Lovely big 2-time changes, really covering the ground beautifully there. Keeping that lovely uphill frame in the canter work. I don't think she had to ask too much for that extended canter. He was there, ready to go. Obviously quite a hot horse. And, you know, that's what we want for these Grand Prix horses. We want the horses really, really listening. And it's that fine line between having a hot horse, but one that listens and one that really, really wants to relax into the work. And she just hasn't quite got that level of relaxation yet in this test today. And again, some mistakes there coming into the 1-time changes. She did the right thing, though. She set him up after those mistakes. Oh, and some more there towards the end. Really, really lovely flying changes themselves. Again, really lovely and uphill and covering the ground. But just that tension creeping in and he's just taking over. Estelle doing a great job of just giving him the half halt and again just losing a little bit of the balance and the rhythm there in that canter pirouette. You can see her there really, really preparing for the canter pirouette. Better, much better this way. And again then just pushing him forward, coming out of the pirouette. Much better balance there in the pirouette to the right. Again, some nice steps in the extended trot. Would just again like to see a little bit more from behind. As they come into the final center line where we see this passage. Again, for those high marks, we'd just like to see the passage a little bit slower. You want to see that moment of suspension. It's a little bit forward still, but lovely transitions there from the passage to the piaffe and back to the passage again. Much better in the hind leg here. Just needs to watch the rhythm. Picking up some 8s, some 7.5s. A fantastic job there from Estelle Wettstein and Quarter Boy. Big applause from the home crowd. A really, really good job. Just such a shame about those movements where the tension just crept in. And again, you can just see him here just getting a little bit hot. And hopefully having been in and having a good round here in the Grand Prix, hopefully that will give him the confidence tomorrow for the freestyle to come back in, and that's where you can really play on the horse's strengths in the freestyle. So we just wait for a score to come through for Estelle Wettstein as we watch her highlights. And that's what I mean. I just don't really feel like he let Estelle in today. 68.370 from the judge at E, 69.239 from the judge at H, from C at 67.826, from M 67.065, and from B 66.087. So a total score of 67.717 and into second place there for Switzerland's Estelle Wettstein and Quarterboy. Remember, you can judge along from home as well. If you download the SAP Spectator Judging app, you can see how close you are to our esteemed panel of judges. You can either give an overall general impression or you can judge along with them movement by movement. Now we move on to the first rider from France. It is Guillaume Lundy, and he is riding Tempo IFCE. This is a 16-year-old Hanoverian gelding by Brentano. This combination started at International Grand Prix in 2019 and have come on leaps and bounds. This is their second World Cup, having competed last year in Lyon, where they finished 12th in the Grand Prix with 69.174 and 11th in the freestyle with 72.690. In October, they competed in Le Mans, where they were 7th in the Grand Prix with 68.413, 3rd in the freestyle with 72.470. Also competed in Wiesbaden CDI 4-star in June. They were 8th in the Grand Prix and 12th in the Special. So a fairly nice start for Guillaume Lundy and Tempo. Lovely suspension there in the trot half pass to the right. Lovely bend through the horse's body. Just leaving that hind leg out, unfortunately there. That was a shame because actually I think he could have corrected that. Tracking up nicely in the extended trot. Not the biggest extended trot that we've seen, but actually nice and correct in its way of going, and that's being reflected in the marks. 3 7s, 2 7.5s. As they come in for the Piaffe. Some nice steps there. Actually got better as they got more balance through the Piaffe. Just lost the balance towards the beginning and therefore had to just watch the regularity of the Piaffe. But as I said, as they went on, that did improve. Very forward here in the extended walk. Again, would like to see a little bit more ground cover for the bigger marks in the extended walk. A little bit more relaxation. Good clear difference shown between the extended walk and the collected walk here. Scoring well for the collected walk. Bringing that mark up. Their personal best is 70.087, so they are around about that. Again, I'd just like to see this horse be able to take a little bit more weight from behind, and I think that would just help him in those transitions. That Piaffe much better than the first ones, 4 7s and a 6.5 from the judges as opposed to 6s for the first one. They come into the twos now. Again, very correct in the two-time changes. Lovely and forward. Really nicely ridden there. Beautifully straight on that diagonal line. And that's the thing with these horses, you know, this horse is very, very correct in its way of going. And okay, it might not be the biggest mover or the flashiest mover, but it is very correct. And so the judges can't give lower than a 7 for a movement that's performed well in a correct way of going. And so automatically, if you're on 7s the whole way through the test, that's a 70% test. The riders have really got to think about the balance the whole way through the test, and that's what this rider's doing a really, really good job of. Some beautiful half passes down the centre line, nice and equal from the left to the right, keeping the pole up at the highest point. Lovely moments of suspension in the changes. Creeping above 70% now, so we are in personal best range. Lovely there, really nice preparation. Just got a little bit open, just lost a bit of the connection coming out of the canter pirouette. That was just the last stride. You just got away from him a little bit there. Much better now, and again just that last couple of steps where actually the horse just extends a little bit too much, just loses that connection from the hind leg to the bridle. Slightly better in the pirouette to the right though than to the left, and I think because it happened on the one to the left he could prepare a little bit more and get the horse a little bit rounder towards the end, but actually I think there's still another couple of marks in those. So now he comes down, some good steps here in the passage. Now he just needs to ask a little bit more from behind into that transition in the Piaffe. Better. So 12 to 15 steps in the Piaffe, travelling a little bit there in the Piaffe as he comes into his final halt at G. We are definitely in personal best territory there for Guillaume Lundy and Tempo IFCE. A really, really lovely job from this partnership. They have grown so much since they started at Grand Prix in 2019, and it's lovely to see these wonderful partnerships developing. As I said, a really lovely way of going in this horse, really nice and soft. This horse really let his rider in and had that adjustability in the test. I think we're going to be in for a good score, and it is a personal best. 68.587 from the judge at E, 71.848 from the judge at H, 71.087 from the judge at C, 69.674 from M, and 69.783 from the judge at B. A personal best score of 70.196 there for Guillaume Lundy and Tempo IFCE.
His new personal best with a total score of 71.196%. Hier Ergebnis ganz nah dran. 70,177. The spectator 71.177.
So next up we have another rider for Switzerland. This time it is Gilles Ngovan and Zigzag. This is a 15-year-old Danish warm-blood gelding by Blue Horse Zach and out of a Blue Horse Don Choufreau mare. This competition made their senior championship debut last year at the World Championships in Herning, finishing 49th in the Grand Prix with 69.223. Last time out was in Frankfurt, CDI 5-star last month, where they were 13th in the Grand Prix with 66.108%, and 5th in the freestyle with 73.875. So into the arena now for Switzerland. It is Gilles Ngovan and the lovely Zigzag. It's a very, very well-bred horse. It started at Grand Prix in 2019, having made the transition up from Small Tour. Some good steps there in the extended trot. We'd just like to see a bit more of an uphill tendency, just got a little bit long. I think if he can rebalance and get a little bit more weight on the hind leg, that's going to be quite a spectacular extended trot there. Nice bending through the body in the half passes. Again, I'd just like to see the rider be able to take a little bit more of a half halt and have that almost pause as he's riding. That moment of suspension is just lacking a little bit in some of the trot work. And you can see the horse just not quite on the aids there when he asks for the rein back. Again, some nice steps in the extended trot. This horse definitely has plenty of talent. Lovely transition into the piaffe. Really, really nice rhythm. Again, could just be a little bit more on the spot. We could see a bit of travelling there. Good relaxation in this extended walk. Some fairly nice steps, could do with a little bit more over track for the higher marks there in the extended walk. But the horse is tracking up. For those high marks, you really, really want to see a clear over track where the horse is stepping over the footprint of from the hind leg to the foreleg. Again here into the piaffe. Some nice active steps in the piaffe there. Again, we'd just like to see that a little bit more on the spot. Of course, it is still a forward movement. They still need to be thinking forward in the piaffe, but you want it really nicely on the spot as much as possible. Yeah, mistakes there in the two-time changes. Just a little bit too gung-ho, a little bit too forward in those two-time changes and not really preparing for them as he came onto that diagonal line. You could just see him going onto that diagonal line and asking for the change rather than really sitting, half-halting and preparing for those changes. So it'll be interesting to see how he approaches the pirouettes especially. Again, just a little bit too forward, I think, in the work. Just needs to really, really sit and take that weight and use his half halt a little bit more. And that will improve the overall connection as well. Okay, into the ones. Nicely forward into the ones there. Yep, no mistakes. A bit of swinging left to right in those one-time changes. So take the half halt, prepare, 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 and then come round. You really want to see the rider being able to take that half halt so the horse is able to balance on that inside hind leg. That's better. Coming round into the canter pirouette, just needing to watch the rhythm. And again into the extended trots there. Again, some nice steps. I just think for those higher marks, we could just see a little bit more connection, a little bit more suspension. Just getting the horse a little bit more onto the hind leg. Some good steps there in the piaffe. As they come down in the passage into the final halt here at G. There we have it for Gilles Ngovan and Zigzag. Big, big applause from the crowd. Lovely, lovely horse, beautifully bred. This horse by Blue Horse Zach, out of a Blue Horse Don Chiffre mare. A big, big smile on Gilles Ngovan. He's happy. Their combination best is 69.739. So I think had they not have had that little blip in the twos, I think they could be there. So 69.261 there, 67.717 from the judge at E, 70.109 from the judge at H, 69.565 from C, 68.152 from M, and 70.761 from the judge at B. That's a score of 69.261 total. Just a little bit lower than their combination best of 69.739. So next into the arena, we have another rider for Switzerland. This time it is Carla Aeberhard and Dilo de Bushmat, CH. This is a 15-year-old Swiss warm blood by Danone, out of Walkenstein, the second mare. This partnership last competed together at last year's World Championships. They finished 54th there in the Grand Prix with 68.866. They also took part in the Europeans in 2021, finishing 32nd in the Grand Prix with 69.581. They've been out and about a lot this season, with their best results coming from Rotterdam in June, where they were 19th in the Grand Prix with 68.478 and 11th in the freestyle with 70.110 amongst tough competition. Good riding there. She was about to come down the centre line. The horse got a little bit tense there at A. So she took it again. So into the arena, it is Carla Aeberhard and Dilo Verwimp, CH. Oh dear, just kicked the board there at the bottom end of the arena. Just caused a bit of tension. And of course that has then affected this extended trot. Not able to circle round and just settle the horse down. And again, lots of tension up here down the A end of the arena. She's got a lot of repair work to do now. Some fairly nice steps there in the trot half pass. Now, you can already see him getting tense as he comes down this end of the arena. So she's going to have to really take that inside flexion. Just holding himself through the body. Oh. She will get an error, of course, I think, for circling around there. And now it's just about trying to regain this horse's confidence. Not asking too much. Just settling him down. Giving him the time. As she comes round from the passage into the piaffe. It's so hard as a rider when you've had those big mistakes and those big moments of tension when the horse is just feeling really, really tense underneath you. This is her time to really try and settle and relax the horse. Showing some good steps here in the walk. This is much better than I thought she was going to get in the walk. And this is where you can see the tension just creeping in. It just seems to be down these short ends of the arena. Oh. And again, I think she's going to get another error, of course. Another one, and she might well be eliminated. Yeah. Oh, that's a real shame for Carla Aeberhard. A real shame. It just started off on the wrong foot. And actually, when he was going around the edge of the arena, she kept turning onto the centre line towards the judges and made those transitions. And I thought that she was doing that to settle the horse down. And she did a really good job. And then, of course, by just kicking the board as she came round on that turn after the centre line, that just unsettled the horse even more. And, of course, initially coming onto that centre line, the horse was spooked again. A real shame for Carla Aeberhard and the lovely Dorothee Bushmat CH. So they have been eliminated. A really lovely, talented horse there. And I think, you know, it's a real shame that those moments happened today. We could see some 7s and some 7.5s from the judges for the good movements. So, you know, it's definitely all in there. Here we can see the current standings. Dorothee Schneider out in front with Showtime FRH for Germany, 74.283%. Guillaume Lundy and Tempo for France, 70.196 in second. Gilles Ngovan and Zigzag in third for Switzerland, 69.261, and Estelle Wettstein and Quarterboy for Switzerland, 67.717 there in fourth place. So next into the arena, it is the first rider for the Netherlands. Now she can choose to either come in early or choose to come in on her time. So we just wait for her to enter the arena now. We still have Thamar Zweistra. She's next in with Hexagon's Double Dutch. And then one more rider before the break, which is our European and Olympic and World Cup champion, Jessica von Bredow-Werndl and TSF de Liere BB. They'll be entering the whiteboards at 12:24. We'll then have a short break, and then we have some really super combinations coming in the second half. We have a rider for Belgium, Jorinde Verwimp, Florian Bacher for Austria, Corentin Pottier from France, Germany's Benjamin Werndl, Sweden's Patrik Kittel, the Netherlands' Dinja van Liere, Denmark's Nanna Merrald, and then last to go is Germany's Isabell Werth. So we just take a very short break now before we enter into the arena with Thamar Zweistra. And in she comes. She's riding Hexagon's Double Dutch, the 15-year-old KWPN stallion by Johnson. These are regulars on the World Cup scene. This pair competed in Mechlin just a couple of weeks ago, finishing 9th in the Grand Prix with 70.630 and 7th in the freestyle with 76.365. Thamar has also been competing her other ride, Hexagon's Weiss. They competed both in Lyon and Madrid World Cup qualifiers, picking up 3rd place in Madrid with 79.660 and 12th in Lyon with 70.850. She competed on Hexagon's Weiss at last year's World Championships, finishing 20th in the special with 73.359. She's currently 3rd in the Western European League standings, so she is definitely going to be looking at trying to pick up a few more points today. Well, actually, tomorrow, sorry. The points are collected in the freestyle. The winner comes away with 20 points. So into the arena now. For the Netherlands, it is Thamar Zweistra and Hexagon's Double Dutch. Just leaving that left hind leg out a little bit in the first halt, and then a little bit of tension coming out back into the collected trot there. This horse is such a little powerhouse. So wonderful to see this really established partnership in the arena. Lovely suppleness to the right there in these trot half pass. Great crossing. Could just have a little bit more there to the left. Really good steps there in the rein back. Just wasn't quite square going into the halt at sea. Had great immobility though, and again, as I said earlier, you really want to see 3 seconds maintained and a still steady halt. And this is where you can see this horse's power coming through in the passage and the piaffe work. Really keeping that activity in the piaffe. And then this horse has such a great ability to just relax into the walk. Super steps here in the extended walk. Really nice, clear over track. A good stretch in the contact. You can really see him seeking that contact down and out there in the walk. Just needs to be careful of the rhythm here in the collected walk. Just at times, just there, you could maybe see it going slightly lateral in the rhythm. As they come back into the passage. Again, just having to be careful of the regularity there in the piaffe. And that just showed there in the transition coming back out. Nice and forward into these two-time changes, really nicely balanced there. Plenty of air time in those two-time changes. You can really see him coming up beautifully in the shoulder. And a beautiful example there of really extending the frame in that extended canter across the diagonal. The judges want to see the whole canter extending, so the stride and, of course, the whole frame and the whole body. Now coming into the one-time changes. See her preparing there before she asks. And again, some lovely air time in these one-time changes. Really beautifully straight on the diagonal line, keeping that uphill tendency. Again, another movement where this horse really excels is these canter pirouettes. Really nicely round her inside leg. Lovely bend through the body, maintaining that balance. Just lost the rhythm there towards the end. The right canter pirouette not quite as well balanced as the one to the left. So they make their way down the final centre line now. So just having to watch that regularity there in the passage. Some nice steps in the piaffe, keeping the activity well. Again, just want to watch the regularity of the step behind in the passage as they come into a lovely square halt there to finish for the lovely Thamar Zweistra and Hexagon's double Dutch. A fantastic end to their test, representing the Netherlands today. Such an established partnership, and they really do love coming out to these World Cup qualifiers. She is definitely going to be looking for a place in the final. She made it to the final last year with her other ride, Hexagon's Igweis. And we have a score. It is 70.870 from E, 72.283 from H, 71.413 from C, 71.196 from M, and 71.304 from the judge at B. That puts her into second place with a total score of 71.413. So out in front at the moment, it is Dorothee Schneider and Showtime FRH, but her teammate is coming into the arena now. And of course, it is our champions, Jessica von Bredow-Werndl and TSF de Liere BB. This combination need little introduction. They are our current Olympic, European and World Cup champions. They haven't been beaten since the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, where they won individual and freestyle gold with their personal best scores of 84.379% in the Grand Prix and 91.732% in the freestyle. They then went on to win triple gold at the Europeans in Hagen later that year. Then to top it all off, they became World Cup winners in Leipzig last April with 84.793 in the short Grand Prix and 90.836% in the freestyle. She did that whilst being 5 months pregnant. She then gave birth to Ella Marie on the 11th of August. At the same time, we were enjoying the World Championships in Herning. And then 11 weeks later, she went back out competing in Lyon. This lady really is a superhero. She has 7 gold medals to her name, and I'm sure will be looking to add more. They have a direct place to the 2023 World Cup finals as long as they compete in 2 World Cup qualifiers, and this, of course, is their second one. She won in Lyon with 81.836 in the Grand Prix and 90.140 in the freestyle with her new music. So in the arena now, it is Jessica von Bredow-Werndl and TSF de Liere BB for Germany. A nice start. You can hear a pin drop in the arena. This mare is just so relaxed in all of her work, so supple. She is, of course, 16 years old, but you would not know it. Her highlight isn't the extended trots, but still picking up some really super marks. Beautiful suppleness in the half passes there. Just losing a little bit of the connection there towards the end of that half pass left. Yeah, just lost the balance into that halt actually. Normally Jessica prepares each movement so beautifully, whereas that looked like a bit of a last minute decision there at sea, which is rather unlike Jessie. Again, some good steps there. As I said, the extended trot, not her highlight. She just about tracks up in those, but beautiful relaxation, great suspension. But this is where this mare just stands out. Stunning work in the passage. So correct here in the piaffe. Beautiful rhythm. 3 10s. This horse is just so light, so rhythmical, so active. And then comes into lovely relaxation here in the walk. Really walking over the back as she picks up into the collective walk, just shortening the frame. Shortening the walk beautifully, showing a good, clear difference. And this is such a difficult transition for the horses and riders because they have to have enough energy to be able to make that lovely passage transition there at M, but they don't want to spoil the collected walk. And that's a really, really fine line, and one that Jessica just demonstrated beautifully. And then again into great steps in the piaffe. Those transitions just absolutely seamless. 9s and 10s from all of the judges. And again, you can just see the lightness coming through in this canter. Everything is just made to look so easy, so effortless, beautifully forward on that line of 2 time changes. And carrying through with that extended canter all the way across the diagonal line into a beautifully balanced flying change there at the end at K. Just at times there in this canter zigzag, you can just see her playing with the bit a little bit. Better here and into the one-time changes. Again, you can see Jessie just preparing her as she asks for them. Again, huge amounts of ground cover there in the one-times. Not the most fluent that I've seen this pair ride in those one-time changes there. Really nicely balanced into the canter pirouettes. And again, you can just see Jessie preparing so beautifully for each of the movements, keeping her nice and supple. And again, beautifully light and uphill into the extended trot on the diagonal. And again, this is where she's going to be picking up those valuable marks on this final centre line. This is where this mare really excels. Beautiful into the passage. Just one regular step there before she asked for the piaffe. But look at that piaffe. Again, we have 5 10s on the board for the piaffe and for the transitions. And a stunning square halt to finish there from Jessica van Bredow-Werndl and TSF de Liere BB. A wonderful job. What a treat for us. What a treat for the audience. That is definitely going to put them way out into the lead. Plus 80% score. Their personal best 84.379. We're going to be close to that today. A real treat for everybody and a huge, huge round of applause from the audience. What a test from this pair. I just love watching them. Their harmony is stunning. You can really see them dancing together. Here's a score, 82.283 from the judge at E, 83.043 from H, 85.217 from C, 82.609 from M, and 84.130 from B. That's a total score of 83.456%, and into the lead for Jessica van Bredow-Werndl and the lovely TSF de Liere BB. We saw so many 10s. She really, really does excel, especially in the piaffe and the passage work. Really, really beautiful to watch. So that is Jessie's second World Cup Dressage Grand Prix. She will, of course, come forward for the freestyle tomorrow. And once she's completed that, she has her place at the World Cup finals at Omaha. She is our World Cup champion at the moment. So we take a break now for 14 minutes. So make sure you join us back. But there you can see the current standings at the moment. Jessica van Bredow-Werndl, she is the score to beat, 83.456. Then Dorothee Schneider in second, Showtime FRH in second, 74.283. And in third, Thamar Zweistra and Hexagon's Double Dutch for the Netherlands, 71.413. They are the scores to beat to get onto the podium. So let's see what's going to happen in the second half. Join us back at 12:48 for the next horse and rider into the arena. It is Belgium's Jorinde Verwimp.
Kurze Pause, gleich geht's weiter. Der Rennen 10:48 ist die Startzeit. Für nächstes Mal ein paar Minuten vorher geht es aber schon wieder los.
Une petite pause de 15 minutes à présent. On se retrouve à 13h45 pour la deuxième partie de cette FIA Dressage Walk présentée par le Grand Hôtel des Trois Rois de Bâle.
Hello and welcome back to this second half of this FEI World Cup Dressage Western European League here in Basel for leg 7. Here are the standings so far. We have out in front Jessica von Bredow-Werndl and TSF Dalera BB. We saw them just before the break score 83.456%. Second was the first rider in is Dorothee Schneider, Showtime FRH for Germany, 74.283. And in third, we have Thamar Zweistra and Hexagon's Double Dutch. This is the second half. These are the riders we have coming forward. First up, we have Jorinde Verwimp and Thamar for Belgium. They are currently ranked 80th. Florian Bacher for Austria, Corentin Pottier from France, Benjamin Werndl, Patrik Kittel, Dinja van Liere, Nanna Merrald, and of course last in is the famous Isabell Werth. So some top competitors to come forward, and we will see some challenges for Jessica's 84% score. A few of the riders that we have coming in have scored very close to that, so it is going to be a really fabulous competition. We have such a great lineup, and I am so looking forward to seeing the freestyle tomorrow as well. We've had 6 riders come forward. Unfortunately, Carla Aeberhard for Switzerland did get eliminated. So just six scores from 7 partnerships. But in the arena now, the first after the break, it is Jorinde Verwimp and Thamar for Belgium. This is an 11-year-old Oldenburg gelding by Chameur out of Quattro B. This is Jorinde and Thamar's 4th World Cup qualifier so far this season, having been to Stuttgart, Madrid and Mechlin already. They've scored between 67.043 and 68.457 in the Grand Prix, and 73.170 and 74.450 so far, with the highest placing of 9th in the freestyle in Madrid. They made their debut at Grand Prix in February last year and only started International Small Tour in May 2021, so still a relatively new partnership. Jorinde came up through the youth classes and competed at the 2014 Young Rider Europeans, winning an individual bronze, even though she actually had a broken toe from her horse treading on it at the time on the first day of competition. She also took Tiamo to the Senior Europeans in 2015 and 2017, as well as the Rio Olympics, finishing in the top 35. So in now for Belgium, Jorinde Verwimp and Thamar. A fun fact for you, Jorinde is also quite superstitious and will only have 7 plaits in the horse's mane. Otherwise, she believes it's bad luck. A lovely, elegant horse. Just like to see the horse a little bit softer into that bend to the right. Just a bit of head tilting there. Some really lovely steps. Comes into that hold again, just leaving that right hind out, but good steps there in the rein back. Nice diagonal pairs. Good steps there in the extended trot, just coming a little bit deep as she comes back from the extended trot into the passage. I'd like to see that weight stay on the hind leg. Again, losing a bit of the fluency in the piaffe. Some fairly good steps behind. You just want to see that maintained in front. Good relaxation here in the walk. And again, for those higher marks, we'd want to see a bit more over track here in the walk, but really lovely stretching. Good relaxation, and again, maintaining that lovely activity throughout the test. A clear difference shown between the extended walk and the collected walk here. Nice, smooth, fluent transition into the passage. Now she just needs to keep that activity going into this piaffe. Yeah, again, just struggling there. Just getting a bit high in the hocks at times. Good transition into the canter. And again there we can see some really nice correct two-time changes. Just at times she's getting a little bit pole deep. And so again, I would just like to see that lightness come across in those changes, keeping the pole up, keeping that weight through the hind leg. Nice there in the extended canter. Again, it's every time she comes back, the weight just drops a little bit onto the shoulder. Again, just having to watch the straightness there in those canter zigzags. Could just see a few of the changes going quarters leading, just needing to maintain the balance there in those. Yeah, and pretty nice changes in the 1x across the diagonal there. Again, I just like for the higher marks to see them a little bit lighter and a bit more uphill. Some nice steps in the canter pirouette, nice and centered. Good there in the canter pirouette, right, slightly better to the right than the left. As she comes down the final centre line now, her final line of the passage and the piaffe. So let's just see what she can do in this final piaffe to pick up some extra marks. Some good work here in the passage. So she needs to take that half halt, better transition into the piaffe, better regularity there. Just lost a bit of the fluency there coming out in the transition back into passage, but definitely the best one out of the three that we've seen. A really good job there from Jorinde Verwimp and Thamar for Belgium. Combination best of 70.043. They were trending around the 69% mark. They have been scoring between 67 and 68% so far in these World Cup qualifiers. So this could actually be their highest mark. And it's wonderful to see the progression in these riders when they first start in the World Cup season. It's great to see these riders and these horses developing confidence. And 70.326 from E, 67.826 from H, 69.783 from C, 68.043 from M, and 69.565 from B. A total score of 109. That's enough to put them into 6th place. Really, really good job, and such a talented horse, really nicely put together. Just at times, as I said, she lost the balance a little bit, and the balance went a little bit onto the shoulder. Had a couple of issues here in the canter zigzag, but some really, really lovely work, some nice canter pirouettes there. But that, can you see there at the end? She's just a little bit on the shoulder in those canter pirouettes, and that's just where she lost a few marks. But next into the arena, it is our sole representative for Austria. It is Florian Bacher, and he is riding Fiedertram OLD, a 14-year-old gelding. This is their first time out since the World Championships in August last year in Herning, where they finished 20th in the Grand Prix with 73.447, which is in fact their personal best. That then qualified them for the special, where they ended up 18th on 73.571, narrowly missing a place in the freestyle final. So into the arena now for Austria, Florian Bacher and Fiedertram OLD. This pair are very established, having also been together for the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. There they finished 30th individually, and in the 2019 and 2021 European Championships they were also a pair. Florian is the former rider at the Spanish Riding School and was there for 18 years after he started at the age of just 16. He's one of the few riders that combined their career in the Spanish Riding School with his sports career. He resigned from the Spanish Riding School in 2018 and now trains with Karl Hester. Again, this horse has such a lovely lightness and ease of movements. Really good crossing here in the half pass. Just needs to watch that he doesn't come a little bit too tight in the neck, keeping that pole up at all times. Much better there. Good diagonal pairs in the rein back. Just went a little bit on the shoulder in those steps. Tracking up well in the extended trot. Showing clear transitions from the extended movements into the collective movements, and this test really has so many transitions. It really shows how adjustable these horses are, and you know, when you're at this level and you're riding the same test over and over again, of course, there comes a point where the horses know the test as well as we do. And so it's really having the ability for the horses to let the riders in and really be able to work as a team through the test, and for the horse not to take over. Some good steps in the walk here, over tracking nicely, great relaxation. You can see the horse really able and willing to take that stretch down and out in the extended walk, and then again come up here in the collected walk into a lovely frame and a great soft contact in the collected walk, whilst maintaining a really good clear rhythm. And both the extended walk and the collected walk have a double coefficient, so can be very, very expensive if you lose the rhythm, or if it becomes a little bit irregular or lateral even. Can be very, very expensive and bring that overall mark down. Nice transition into the Piaffe. 7.5s and an 8 for the Piaffe there. Just a little miscommunication there in the canter transition. So now preparing for the 2-time changes. Nice and correct changes on the diagonal line, nice and straight there. Would like to see them a little bit bigger, maybe with a little bit more ground cover for the bigger marks, but very, very correct in the way of going. Some good steps in the extended canter. Again, for me, I just would like to see him maintain that lovely uphill frame as he came back from the extended canter. Lovely and even left to right in the canter zigzag down the center line. Again, for the big marks, we would just like to see a little bit more ground cover. Again, just keeping that pole up. Yeah, really well ridden there from Florian. Having to work quite hard to keep that balance in those one-time changes. And you could almost see him carrying the horse slightly. So you'd want to see a little bit more self-carriage from the horse in those one-time changes. Super in the canter pirouettes, definitely a highlight. Wonderful balance in the canter pirouettes. Really, really nicely ridden, beautifully balanced on that inside hind leg. Again, another one that's going to be very close to their personal best. Personal best of 73.447. Currently sitting around 73.0, 73.1. So this final centre line is going to be very important. Again, you can see there the horse coming a little bit tight. Florian doing a great job of saying, no, buddy, out you go. Keep that pole up, keep that nose out. Yes, better. Much better. Again, lost a little bit of the fluency in the transitions, but the actual quality of the piaffe was there at X. As they come into their final halt. There we have it for Florian Bacher for Austria and the lovely Fiedertram OLD. Big smiles from the grooms. And a really, really super test there from Florian. Beautifully ridden, really showing his wealth of experience. Those canter pirouettes were definitely a standout for me. A few 8.5s from the judges for those. And the walk as well. I think it's one of the best walks we've seen so far today. Just a couple of times the horse came a little bit behind the bit. Just came a tiny bit behind the vertical and dropped the pole. Just at times, but here are a score: 72.935 from E, 71.739 from H, 74.130 from C, 73.043 from M, and 72.935 from B. A total score of 72.956, and into third place there for Florian Bacher from Austria and Fiedertram OLD. A great job, very, very well ridden there by Florian. Just a little bit off of their personal best, a personal best score of 73.447. But definitely room for improvement there for this pair as well. This horse just 14 years old, so still plenty in the tank for them.
Pour la France, Corentin Pottier.
So now into the arena. It is our second combination for France. It is Corentin Pottier. And they're riding Gotlas du Filiard, a 12-year-old KWPN, a gelding by Totalis, out of a Faro mare. They are also another partnership from last year's World Championships in Herning. They finished 43rd in the Grand Prix with 69.658. This is their first ever World Cup qualifier together. So into the arena now, it is Corentin Pottier and Gotlas du Filiard. Recently, they competed in the Kronenberg CDI 3-star, finishing 10th in the Grand Prix with 69.891 and 5th in the Special with 71.979. They also competed in Le Mans in October, where they finished just off the podium in the Grand Prix and Special with 2 fourth places with 69.913 and 68.596 respectively. They haven't yet competed in a freestyle, so if they can complete the test today, they'll make it through to their first ever international freestyle tomorrow. A really great start for this combination. Lovely lightness here in the half pass, maintaining that really nice uphill frame. Great crossing in the half passes, just floating across the arena. Unfortunately, not into a square halt, but good steps in the rein back. Again, lovely fluency from this pair. Really enjoying how he's putting the test together, making everything look really lovely and fluent and easy, which is what dressage is all about. Good relaxation here in the walk. Again, for the bigger marks, you would want to see a bit more of an overtrack, but really nice extending of the frame, taking that contact out and down, really showing a good stretch. Great consistency from this pair so far. Good here in the Piaffe. Really, really nice steps there in the Piaffe work. Again, just so beautifully consistent in this horse's work, keeping that activity. And you can see so many 7s, lots of 7.5s and a splattering of 8s there. And that's just maintaining that really consistent level of around 72, 72.8. That would be a personal best for this pair. Again, beautifully uphill in those 2-time changes. Really keeping that lightness in front. And again, if you were looking at getting the 8s, 8.5s, you would want to see a little bit more ground cover. but still scoring very well. And those two-time changes have actually put him over the 72% bracket, now up to 73.160. Again, nicely balanced here in the canter zigzag. So just preparing now for those one-time changes. Oh, a little bit late off the rider's aids. Nice. That was a real shame at the beginning there. That's pulled their score down. 4s from all of the judges, which is a real shame. And yeah, dramatic drop down to 71.1. We've still got enough time to pull that score back up though. Really nicely centered and balanced around the canter pirouette. I'm really enjoying watching this test, and the fluency between them, the harmony is fantastic, and this horse just hasn't changed in its frame through the entirety of the test, which is just so wonderful to see. The pole is up at the highest point. They have a great connection from the bit to the hind leg, and it's just an absolute joy to watch. Great transition into the passage. Now, what can they do in this final piaffe on the centre line? He looks like he's getting a little bit strong. So you can see that Corentin is just doing a good job of bringing that half halt in. Yeah, just lost a little bit of the fluency there in that piaffe as they come into the final halt. What a test from this pair, and a lovely square halt to finish with. Big pats for this wonderful horse. Their personal best is 70.565%. They have well and truly smashed that. Wonderful relaxation, just such a beautiful harmonious picture. As I said, a really wonderful frame throughout, and you can just see the absolute joy in this rider's face. What a fantastic round he's had, and I cannot wait to watch to see what they have in store for us for the freestyle tomorrow. So we just watch the highlights now. Everything just so beautifully correct in this test, and everything was just scoring around between the 7s and 8s. Fantastic two-time changes, and here we go. 71.957% from the judge at E, 71.196 from H, 72.826 from C, 73.261 from M, and 73.152 from B. A personal best score of 72.4878%. Into 4th place there, and actually that would have been, I would imagine, over 73% had they not have had that mistake in the one-time changes. So really exciting partnership to look forward to seeing progress in the future. What a wonderful test there from Corentin Pottier. A wonderful horse by the wonderful Totalis out of a Faro mare. Sorry, I've probably got this pronunciation really wrong, but Totalis de Fouliade. Again, sorry for my bad pronunciation, but a wonderful job from this fantastic French pair. And now we move back over to Germany. Such a strong contingent of German riders here at this competition in Basel, and this man is no exception. It is Benjamin Werndl and Daily Mirror 9, 19-year-old Westphalian gelding by Damon Hill. So into the arena now for Germany, Benjamin Werndl and Daily Mirror 9. Of course, we saw Benjamin's sister, Jessica von Bredow-Werndl, compete earlier with TSF de Liere BB. She is out in the lead at the moment. This pair, a very established partnership. They represented Germany in the 2019 World Cup final. They're regulars on the World Cup scene. Famously won the competition in Salzburg, the qualifier there, back in 2018, where they were fresh faces in the dressage world. Regularly score over 80% in the freestyle. Last time out was in Stuttgart in November, where they took fourth in the Grand Prix with 73.804 and third in the freestyle with 81.885. Benjamin's also been competing his other ride, Famoso OLD, who he rode at the World Championships last year. They finished in the top 4 in the freestyle final with a huge 85.893. They also had huge success in Lyon, finishing 4th in the freestyle with 82.775. So straight away off to a good start for Benjamin. Quite a quick first halt, actually. Just lost the balance, wasn't quite square into that, which was a shame. And again, I feel like he rushed that halt there before the rain back at sea, and that shows in the scores 2 6.5s and 3 7s, but still sitting around the 76%. Again, this horse has such a lovely way of going. Oh, just getting a little bit hot there in the Piaffe, just losing the regularity of the steps in the Piaffe work there. Now this is where this horse stands out. Look at that over track in the walk. I've always compared this horse to a panther, and you want to see the swing over the horse's back in the walk, and that is just such a great example of a top quality extended walk, really showing a good stretch. And sometimes when these horses have such a big walk, you have to be careful of the rhythm in the collected walk, but Benjamin doing a great job of maintaining that beautifully along that short side. A 9.5 from one of the judges for the extended walk, a couple of 8.5s as well. Just struggling a little bit today in the Piaffe. You can just see him getting a little bit high in front, losing that connection in the bridle. That's definitely something that Benjamin's going to be looking to work on ahead of the freestyle tomorrow. This horse certainly does not look or act his age. 19 and still so beautifully soft over the back and so beautifully supple. And that's real testament to Benjamin and his training. Super in the 2-time changes. Nice and uphill in the extended canter, and again showing good clear transitions. And I said this earlier, but it really is such a good test of adjustability. I dread to think how many transitions these horses and riders have to ride through this test, but probably every stride they're just checking in and giving that half halt. Just lost the balance a little bit there in the zigzag, but every stride they're just checking in. Have they got the balance? Have they got that half halt to be able to ride and prepare for the next step? Everything comes around so quickly, and the half halt really does enable them to have that lovely lift, that lovely ease in the movements. Oh, yeah, just lost the balance there. I was quite surprised at how forward he came into that canter pirouette. I feel like he could have collected a little bit more going into it. Yeah, just a little bit spinning around in the canter. Better certainly to the right, but I'd absolutely like to see more balance on that inside hind leg. Nice steps there in the extended trot, nicely from behind. I think Daily Mirror's definitely come out feeling quite fresh here, which is just fantastic to see. And now from riding this test, which has not been mistake-free, that's going to give Benjamin an indication of what he has to work for tomorrow in the freestyle. And a fabulous square halt to finish there from Benjamin Werndl and Daily Mirror 9. A really, really super job. You can see Jessie there, his sister, watching from the kiss and cry. She's happy with the job that they've done today, and it's just, as I said, it's great to see this horse looking and feeling so good at 19 years old. You would certainly not know his age from looking at him. Now we watch the highlights, some super steps there, really, really nicely from behind. This horse still so beautifully supple. Look at the reach in those trot half passes. Beautiful change of bend there to the left. Just struggled a few times in the Piaffe today. And I think that was just a bit of getting a little bit saucy, a little bit hot. So a score of 75.217 at E, 73.913 at H, 75 from C, 75.870 from M, and 75.326 from B. A total score of 75.065, and into second place there for Benjamin Werndl from Germany and Daily Mirror 9. Just slotting in behind his sister Jessica von Bredow-Werndl, who's out in front with 83.456%. So just 4 riders left to come forward for this Grand Prix. And we already have into the arena now. It is Patrik Kittel for Sweden. He's riding Forever Young HRH, an 11-year-old Westphalian mare. This combination have had an excellent 2022 with 4 wins and all top 10 placings. They started 2022 well at the final World Cup qualifier in Stokkenbosch in March, coming third in the freestyle with their personal best of 82.5%. They then went on to win in Compiègne and Falsterbro with scores of 76.065% in the Grand Prix and 81.495% in the freestyle. Patrik has competed in the Beijing, London and Rio Olympic Games, as well as 3 World Championships and many Europeans also. So into the arena now, Patrik Kittel and Forever Young HRH. Last year, he rode touchdown at the World Championships, finishing 7th in the freestyle with 83.679. Also picked up some valuable points with touchdown at the Lyon World Cup qualifier, finishing 3rd in the Grand Prix with 75.261 and 3rd in the freestyle with 84.630. A good start already in this Grand Prix, and again, this horse has such beautiful expression in the trot work. I'm loving this really nice frame that he has this mare in. So beautifully soft here in the trot half passes, keeping that pole up at the highest point. Nice and open in the frame. Really allowing her to travel and use that whole diagonal in the half passes, just leaving that right hind leg out a little bit in the halt there. That's a shame. Again, some super steps here. Just opening that frame and allowing her to really extend in the trot. Could just see a little bit more from the behind in those extended trots. Yeah, cleverly ridden there. And you can see him just rewarding her as she comes back into the passage. A really good, nice, active, regular passage. And then just you could see that not quite carrying through to the piaffe, and therefore Patrik making a really good decision to actually allow the piaffe to travel a little bit so she could keep that momentum in the piaffe. Really good riding there from Patrik. Just needs to be careful of the regularity here in the collected walk. Just needs to watch the freedom of the shoulder there in the collected walk. Nice here in the passage. So you can see him just collecting her, allowing her. Yeah. So that time he asked for a little bit more on the spot, and you could just see her struggling a little bit more with that. So definitely a good choice to allow her to travel a little bit more in those piaffes for the higher marks. And that's the thing, when you're riding these tests, it's consciously the whole time making decisions on the spot as to how the horse is feeling. They're really, really measured transitions, measured decisions as to what you're going to do next and how you're going to ride the next movement, depending on the feeling that you have underneath you. Great ground cover there in the 2-time changes. I think this is where he's going to be able to pick up some marks, and Patrik always demonstrating such a fantastic extended canter, really, really going for it there, showing a clear difference between the collected canter and the extended canter, and allowing her to open the frame. That's the thing, the extended canter isn't just about going full blast across the diagonal. It's really about opening up the whole of the horse's canter, including the frame. Nicely balanced into the canter half pass zigzag on the center line, and again just keeping that beautiful uphill frame here in the canter, even through these 1-time changes, really nice and straight. So now preparing for the canter pirouette. You can see there, flexing her to the inside, enabling that weight to go down onto that inside hind leg so she can really carry herself around that really, really small circle. 6 to 8 steps you want to see in the canter pirouette. Not quite as good there to the right. The weight was a little bit more on the shoulder than the hind leg. Again, opening that frame beautifully in the extended trot. Just think for the higher marks, you just want to see a little bit more from the hind leg in those extended trots. So coming down now, super here in the passage. Now what's he going to do in this piaffe? Yeah, just allowing her that forward momentum, much better. Definitely the best piaffe of the test so far. Of course, it is the final one. And actually, that's now improved the passage. Oh, that was commentator's curse, wasn't it? Just losing the balance there in the passage. And a great square hold to finish. What a super mare this is, Forever Young HRH, ridden by the wonderful Patrik Kittel. He's very, very, very happy with that performance, and so he should be. Some really, really super work. Just a few blips today in the Piaffe work, but overall I just really, really enjoyed this lovely mare's softness through her body, and I loved how Patrik could keep her really nice and open in her frame, so consistent throughout the whole test, and the mare looked like she was having the time of her life in the arena. And that's when you can see the extended trot. That's where you can just see the mare just about tracking up, so you would want to see more from behind there in those extended trots for the higher marks. A really good job, and wow, look at that extended canter. And here are the scores: 74.34H from E, 73.370 from H, 76.087 from the judge at C, 72.717 from M, and 75.326 from B. A total score of 74.370. Into third place there for Sweden's Patrik Kittel and Forever Young HRH. So just 3 partnerships left to come forward now, and it is the final rider for the Netherlands. It is Dinja van Liere and Hartzuga, an 11-year-old KWPN gelding by Johnson, out of a Scandic mare. A relatively new partnership at this level, having broken into the circuit in April this year in Hagen. This is their second World Cup qualifier, having competed in Stuttgart in November, where they finished 6th in both classes with 72.587 in the Grand Prix and 80.225 in the freestyle. They then went on to CDI 5-star in Stockholm and again finished 6th, this time with 74.891 in the Grand Prix, and their personal best in the freestyle of 80.67%. So in now is Dinja van Liere and Hartzuga. Dinja, of course, is our double bronze medalist from the World Championships last year in Herning with the fabulous Hermes NOP, and is here hot off the back of her win with Hermes in Mechlin just a few weeks ago, where they scored a huge 85.815 in the freestyle. Dinja has such a great string of wonderful horses all around the 10, 11 years old. Also has been riding Haute Couture. And just needs to watch. Yeah, well corrected there. Just went into that half pass to the left with the quarters leading at the start, and then just managed to straighten him up. Not quite square there. You could just see him again losing his attention in the halt. A little bit quick in the halt as well. As I said earlier, you want to see 3 seconds. Better there towards the end of that extended trot. Just got a little bit lighter and a bit better self-carriage towards the end. Some really wonderful steps, and again this horse has a lot of presence. Yeah, pretty nice in the Piaffe. Just was snatching a little bit with the right hind leg. You'd like to see that smoother transition into the Piaffe and just keep the rhythm a little bit more consistent. Good in the walk. Could just stretch down a little bit more, I feel, in that extended walk. Good engagement here in the collected walk. Very clear collected walk rhythm. Lovely here in the passage. Yes, better this time in the piaffe. Very on the spot as well. Again, just need, yeah. Okay, needs to work on that transition coming out. It's just a little bit together behind at times. Oh, and again there, enthusiastic into the canter. Lovely forward 2 time changes. 7.5s for the judges for those. Again, for the higher marks, you would just like to see them having that slight pause in the air, that moment of suspension. But again, this horse just 11 years old, so plenty more to come in the future, I feel, from this pair. Nicely balanced in the half passes down the centre line. And into the 1 time changes. Again, beautifully uphill, nice and straight on the diagonal line. Very well ridden there from Dinja. And again, you can just see her preparing for every movement so well, and that is testament to her experience. Lovely centered canter pirouette, maintaining that activity. And again, nice and soft around her inside leg. Yeah, really super, especially that canter pirouette to the right. Beautiful over tracking. Yeah, nice there. I think the judges would just like to see a little bit more self-carriage there in the extended trot for the higher marks. You can see him come up and he could just open the frame just a tiny little bit more, I think, for the higher marks. Just allowing him forward. Much better transition out there of the piaffe into the passage. This is going to be a very good result. Is it enough to take them into second place and overtake Benjamin Werndl? There we have it for Dinja van Liere and Hartzuger for the Netherlands. What a wonderful partnership, and still relatively new, having only come up to Grand Prix in April last year in Hagen. A really fantastic partnership. They've been scoring around 72%, up to 74%. So their personal best at the moment, 74.891. This could be enough to overtake our personal best. And it is. 75.761 from E, 76.630 from H, 75.652 from C, 75.761 from M, and 74.239 from B. A combination best score of 75.609, and into second place there For the Netherlands, Dinja van Liere in Hartsuka. And it's great to see that they can score that kind of mark when actually there's still improvements that can be made. They still had a few blips in the Piaffe, especially the first two. And so, you know, there's plenty more there to play with. And this horse just 11 years old. Absolutely wonderful to see. Very exciting for tomorrow's freestyle. And just two more riders to come forward. Now we have the sole representative of Denmark. It is Nanna Merrald and Blue Horse Zepter. This is a 15-year-old Oldenburg gelding by Blue Horse Zach. This combination's first ever international show together since gaining the ride from Patrik Kittel. Patrik rode Zepter at the World Cup finals last year. They finished 7th in the short Grand Prix with 74.662 and 8th in the freestyle with 76.725. He was sent to Patrik to compete and to sell. However, he didn't find a new rider, so he returned home to Blue Horse and is still on the market. He had a very successful 2022 season with Patrik, never placing outside the top 10 and even gaining some wins along the way in Compiègne and Falsterbro. Previously to that, he was competed under Blue Horse former rider Daniel Bachmann-Andersen. Nanna, of course, is no stranger to the Danish team, having competed at the World Championships last year in Herning, where she helped Denmark win team gold riding Blue Horse Zach. She also competed at the Tokyo 2020 Games and has several European championships, both as a senior and in the youth classes under her belt. She rode Utter Upgard's Othilia at the World Cup finals last year. This is the third horse that Nanna has ridden at the World Cup qualifiers this season, having ridden Blue Horse Saint Chiffreau in Wilhelmsburg and in Mechlin just a couple of weeks ago, and Utter Upgard's Othilia in Lyon. So here we have Nanna Merrald and the lovely Blue Horse Zepter. Just stepping back a little bit in that first halt. Just needing to keep the balance there. That is a bit of a lower start than she would have hoped for. As I said, this is their first international competition together. But this horse has such a wealth of experience in these kind of arenas, as does Nanna, just not together yet. Really nice positioning there in the half passes. Good bend through the rider's inside leg. Oh, just a miscommunication there coming into the half pass to the left. And that's the thing, you need to be able to take these horses out. It's fine being able to do everything perfectly at home. But sometimes when you're in the arena with an atmosphere, things can happen. And that's when miscommunications can come in. Really lovely in the Holt rein back there. I loved how Nanna was able to wait. This horse, I don't know for size-wise, but it just looks a lot bigger than the other horses that we've seen Nanna ride so far. So a lot more to connect. Good steps there in the Piaffe. Really, really lovely. Scoring very well from the judges. Lovely connection here in the passage. Good relaxation in the walk, is really able to take the contact down and out. Again, for the highest scores, you'd just like to see more of an over track in the walk, more of a swing over the horse's back. Keeping that regularity in the collected walk. You can see Nanna just preparing there for the passage. A lovely transition. As I said, a really difficult one because you want the walk to stay rhythmical, to stay regular in the collected walk, but you also want the oomph and the impulsion to be able to get into the passage. Again, really super piaffe. Looks like this horse could piaffe all day long. Lovely frame here as well. Well maintained actually through all of the movements, but especially the passage and the piaffe, keeping that pole up, keeping that connection in the bridle. It was just that little blip, wasn't it, going into the trot half pass at the beginning to the left. And this is all really good learning for Nanna, who hasn't felt this horse in this kind of arena yet. So she's not going to be going for full power. She's not going to be riding for the high marks until she really, really gets to know him. That's for tomorrow, when she can gauge how he's gone today and maybe just go for it a little bit more tomorrow in the freestyle. Today is just about educating, about learning, about building that relationship. And we can't forget, obviously, this horse has been ridden at this level by several riders, at least 3. So Nanna's the 4th rider to be riding this horse at International Grand Prix level. So it really is about them building a partnership up together. Super one-time changes. And both the horse and the rider have such great education at this level. You know, Nanna rides several horses at International Grand Prix and has such a wealth of experience. And it's just about learning what makes each horse tick, because every single one is completely different. Beautiful balance in that canter pirouette. A 9 for the canter pirouette to the left, and 8s, 4 8s. And then the canter pirouette right, 3 8s and 2 7.5s. I think Nanna should be extremely pleased with this so far. Could have a little bit more from behind in that extended trot. But again, that frame just maintaining beautifully throughout the whole test. And this is this horse's party piece. Look at the wonderful activity in the hind leg, so rhythmical as they come down in the passage and into that lovely piaffe. Beautifully on the spot, keeping the frame, keeping the impulsion. This is definitely going to be a partnership to watch out for as they come into their final halt, just stepping back into a square halt. But a super job from Nanna Merrald and Blue Horse Zepter, their first ever international together. and scoring mid 70%. Absolutely fantastic to watch. And it was wonderful to actually see them growing in confidence together throughout the test. They had that initial blip at the beginning in their trot half pass to the left where they were scoring 4s and 5s from the judges, but then managed to pick up and really scored so beautifully high in the piaffe and the passage work, as well as those wonderful canter pirouettes. And 74.239 from the judge at E, 76.413 from H, 75.217 from C, 75.652 from M, and 74.239 from B. Obviously a combination best because they've got nothing to compare it to, but 75.152, and into third place there for Nanna Merrald and Blue Horse Zepter. A really, really super job, and I can't wait to see them come out with even more confidence tomorrow in the freestyle. As I said earlier, this horse just looks a lot bigger than I've seen Nanna ride before. We've seen her ride Blue Horse Saint Chufreau, of course Blue Horse Zach, which she famously rode at the Olympics, who is quite small and compact. This horse looks a lot bigger with a lot of power, and much more difficult when they are that kind of size to really connect. But Nanna doing a super job. So our final horse and rider combination into the arena, it is Isabell Werth. And of course, Isabell needs no introduction. She has a whopping 35 gold medals from 5 Olympics, 7 world and 15 European championships under her belt. She's won 5 World Cup finals in total, and if she qualifies again this year, it would be her 20th World Cup final. She's riding DSP Quantes, a 13-year-old stallion by quarterback. This combination competed at last year's World Championships, finishing 5th in the Grand Prix with 77.127 and 4th in the special with 79.073 and 9th in the freestyle with 83.339. So for Germany, it is Isabell Werth and DSP Quantes. They were also in Stuttgart for the World Cup qualifier there, after winning in the Grand Prix with 77.217. They finished 2nd in the freestyle with 82.030, and Ingrid Klimke took the lead. So we could be in for a really high mark here. As I said, won the Grand Prix with 77.217 in Stuttgart. That would be enough to put her into 2nd place here in Basel. A great start. Wonderful positioning and crossing there in the trot half pass. Just seem to have a little bit more suppleness to the right. Again, not quite square into that halt, but good steps in the rein back. This horse has such a fantastic active hind leg, and that's really what lends itself so well to this passage and piaffe work. Scoring 8s and 7.5 across the board for the piaffe and for the transitions. She's going to have to increase her score though to catch up with Jessica von Bredow-Werndl. We know she can score plus 80 in this Grand Prix. Not the best walk that we've seen today. Just about tracking up just in the extended walk. And as I said earlier, this walk does carry a double coefficient, both the extended walk and the collective walk. So for riders like Benjamin Werndl, who has Daily Mirror 9, who was scoring like 8.5s, 9.5s for the walk, that really can pick up their score quite significantly. However, the Piaf is also double coefficient, and she's scoring 8.5s and 9 for that. Really beautifully ridden there. And that's where you can see how much of an impact the walk can have, dropping her down to 76 after the walk. Of course, picking up now. That's a shame. Just for clarification, she, in comparison to some of the others, was scoring 5.5s and 6s for the walk work. So that was incredibly expensive. And of course, that line of 2 time changes, 4s from the judges for that. Even with those blips, though, still sitting in second place. Lovely suppleness through these canter zigzags. Into the one-time changes again. Great ground cover, keeping that lovely frame in the one-time changes. Plenty of air time. Beautifully uphill in the one-time changes. It's nice to see that this horse has settled right back down after that moment of tension in the 2-time changes. Very well centered in the canter pirouette. Again, we'd just like to see a little bit more body bend through to the right, and that's been quite consistent through the whole test. Still scoring well, 8s across the board for the canter pirouette right, but the canter pirouette left was scoring 8.5s and 8s, so just a little comparison there for you. And of course, horses are like us. They have one way that they prefer more than the other, and that's down to the rider to try and equal out those preferences and ride as symmetrically as possible. Beautiful here in the passage, and a flawless transition into the Piaf there, right on the marker at X. The horse really relaxed in the work. 9.5s and 9s from the judges for that. That's really where they're picking up their marks, and you can see the score rise now back up to 77.8. A fantastic job by Isabell Werth and DSP Quantes. She is such a legend of the sport. I mean, 35 gold medals is quite extraordinary on so many horses over the years. Wonderful to see her out with this fabulous horse, DSP Quantes. Definitely going to be a horse to watch for this year's Europeans and, of course, next year's Olympics in Paris. Has she done enough, even with those mistakes, to put her in second place behind Jessica? A shame about those mistakes. That really did impact her quite significantly. So 78.913 from E, 78.370 from H, 79.130 from C, 78.043 from M, and 76.848 from B. So that is into second place there for Isabell Werth and DSP Quantaz. 78.261 into second behind Jessica von Bredow-Werndl. I think where she picked up those marks today was in that wonderful Piaffe Passage work. You know, she was getting 9.5s for those, and they just really balanced out the mistakes. Of course, they had that moment of tension in the two-time changes. Had she have scored what she'd been scoring for the other movements, which was around 7.5, 8.5, and then, of course, at the beginning of the test with the halt and the rein back, she was marked down for that as well, and the walk work was a little bit lower, scoring 5.5s and 6s. So there we can see the final result. Jessica von Bredow-Werndl and TSF de Lera BB for Germany out in front, 83.456%. Isabell Werth in second place, 78.261. And Dinja van Liere for the Netherlands, 75.609 in third. Then Nanna Merrald and Bluehorse Zepter in fifth. In fourth. Benjamin Werndl in Daily Mirror 9 in fifth place. Patrik Kittel and Forever Young HRH in sixth. Dorothee Schneider first to go. They are seventh with 74.283. Florian Bacher, he is eighth, 72.956. Corentin Pottier and from France, they are in ninth with 72.478. So here you can see the standings of the Western European League. Ingrid Klimke out in front, 55 points. Morgan Barbizon. Thamar Zweistra in third. She's going to be looking to go up. Benjamin Werndl in fourth place for Germany with 50 points. And Nanna Merrald for Denmark in fifth place. All three of those riders here are going to be looking to jump up the standings. Also Isabell there in eighth place. So Thamar Zweistra today was in 10th with 71.413. She's going to be looking to go up the standings for the Western European League after her freestyle tomorrow. So 14 horses and riders going forward to the freestyle tomorrow. Don't forget to join us back 7:30 UK time, 8:30 Central European time. The footage can be found on Clip My Horse TV or FEI TV. So make sure you tune in with me tomorrow morning for the freestyle. It's all to play for. We've had such a great lineup of horse and rider combinations. Of course, we will be seeing Jessica von Bredow-Werndl's new freestyle again tomorrow. She scored over 90% in Lyon with that new freestyle, and that was her first ever try of going through it before. So she's going to have been working on that over the last few months. So can she do one better? Can she increase that score? Isabell Werth and DSP Quantaz, of course, they'll be coming forward as well. Such great competition. Dinja van Liere and Hartzuka, who has just popped up now. They were third today. Again, just a couple of little blips in their test. They're going to be looking to improve on their Piaffe work tomorrow in the freestyle. But she did have a combination best result of 75.609. This horse just 11 years old, so plenty of time for the future, for more progression. Then Nanna Merrald in fourth, 75.152. Incredibly tight between Benjamin Werndl and Daily Mirror, Nanna Merrald and Bredow-Werndl and Dinja van Liere and Hardzuka, all sitting on 75% there. Also, a lovely test from Patrik Kittel and Forever Young, HRH. They finished sixth on 74.370. Really enjoyed their lovely test today. What a super mare that is. And again, another one to look forward to progressing in the future. Then, of course, we had Dorothee Schneider, who was first into the arena today on Showtime FRH. They scored 74.283%. That was their first competition since Tokyo in 2020. Well, it was actually in 2021, but they call it the Tokyo 2020 Olympics because of the delay due to coronavirus. So it's been well over a year and a half before they've been in the whiteboards, and to come back and get 74.283 for 7th place, I know she's going to be looking at coming back for even more tomorrow. So just a reminder, you can watch along with us for the freestyle tomorrow. It will be on Clip My Horse TV or on FEI TV. There will not be any streaming on YouTube or on Facebook for the freestyle, so make sure you've got your subscription. It will be at 8:30 Central European time or 7:30 UK time. So set your alarms and make sure you come and watch along with us. Can this lady take the top of the leaderboard? She has an automatic place in the finals if she can just get through and complete the freestyle tomorrow. That's all she needs to do because she is our current World Cup champion. So you can see the arena team just preparing the arena now for the prize giving. So make sure you don't go anywhere. Make sure you join us for this prize giving for this Grand Prix. This is, of course, leg 7 of the Western European League. We have just a few more legs to go until we find out who's going to be making it to the finals. Next up is Amsterdam on the 28th of January. These are the freestyle dates, so the Grand Prix is the day before. So the Grand Prix will be on the 27th of January. Freestyle in Amsterdam on the 28th of January. In Neumünster in Germany, we will be there on the 18th of February for the Grand Prix and the 19th of February for the freestyle. In Gothenburg, we will be there on the 24th of February for the Grand Prix and the 25th of February for the freestyle. And the final qualifier is in 's-Hertogenbosch in the Netherlands. That's the 10th of March for the Grand Prix and the 11th of March for the freestyle. You can catch all of the action for all of the Grand Prix live on the FEI Facebook and YouTube channel. But you do have to subscribe to watch the freestyle to either Clip My Horse TV or FEI TV for all of the action of the freestyles. And of course, you're going to want to subscribe to be able to watch the finals in Omaha in April. That's where all of the riders from all of the leagues from across the globe, so the Pacific League, the North American League, and the Central European League, and of course this, the Western European League. 9 athletes from the Western European League will go forward to the finals. for just a few moments more before we bring you the prize giving. The red carpet's being rolled out for our champions. So we will leave you now with all of the action from the prize giving. But just a quick reminder of the winner, Jessica von Bredow-Werndl and TSF de Liere BB, 83.456% to take the win. In second, Isabell Werth and DSP Quantaz in second place, 78.261. And Dinja van Liere was third with Hardzuka and 75.609 from the Netherlands. But that's it from me, Natasha Baker. I will be back tomorrow to watch along with the freestyle with you. I cannot wait. Make sure you join us on Clip My Horse TV or FEI TV for all of the action. Until then, have a great day.
für Showtime FRH und Reitmeisterin Dorothee Schneider, Deutschland. Der sechste Platz, 74,37%, Forever Young, Thamar und Patrik Kittel, Schweden. Wir begrüßen die Fünftplatzierten. 75,065% für Nanna Merrald und Bredow-Werndl, Deutschland. Den vierten Platz, 75,152% für Bredow-Werndl und Nanna Merrald, Dänemark. Bevor wir die drei Erstplatzierten begrüßen, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, darf ich Ihnen das Ehrenkomitee vorstellen, angeführt von Monsieur Philippe Claraval, General Manager des Grand Hotel Les Trois Rois Basel. Herzlichen Dank und herzlich willkommen. In Begleitung von Andi Kister als Präsident des Organisationskomitees der Longines CHI Classics Basel sowie Dr. Thomas Straumann, Initiator und Präsident des Verwaltungsrates der Betreibergesellschaft CHI Classics Limited und Markus Regler, Chefrichter bei C und FI Repräsentant. Wir begrüßen die Siegerinnen und die Platzierten. Die Premiere der Dressur auf Weltniveau in der Basel St. Jakobshalle mit dem FEI Dressage World Cup Grand Prix am heutigen Samstag, präsentiert vom Grand Hotel Les Trois Rois Basel. Gewinnen mit 83,456% überlegen die 16-jährige Italienerstute TSF Danera BB und Jessica von Bredow-Werndl, Deutschland. Herzlichen Glückwunsch an das beste Dressurpaar der Gegenwart, die Nummer 1 der Weltrangliste. Zu ihren Ehren erheben wir uns von unseren Plätzen. Es ertönt die deutsche Nationalhymne. TSF Daniela BB und Jessica von Bredow-Werndl. Wie es die Tradition in den Vorjahren bei den großen Sprintprüfungen des Grand Hotel des Croix üblich war, so erhält auch die Gewinnerin der großen Dressurprüfung als Sonderpreis den Aufenthalt im Grand Hotel des Croix anlässlich der Longines CHI Classics Basel im nächsten Jahr 2024. Dieser Preis wird uns symbolisch in Form eines Schlüsselanhängers überreicht an Jessica von Bredow-Werndl durch Philippe Claravant, General Manager des Grand Hotel Les Trois Rois. Herzlichen Dank und herzlichen Glückwunsch. Die Gratulation seitens des Weltverbandes FIEI und des Chefrichters bei C dieser Prüfung überbracht durch Markus Rehmann. Für das Organisationskomitee gratulieren Dr. Thomas Stramann und Andi Kistler. Dr. Thomas Stramann als Initiant des Turniers, der auch die Dressur hier in die St. Jakobshalle gebracht hat. Ein lang gehegter Traum ging somit in Erfüllung. Der Verwaltungsratspräsident der CHI Classics Limited und Andi Kistler, Präsident des Organisationskomitees der Longines CHI Classics in Basel. Herzlichen Glückwunsch an das Siegerpaar an TSF Daniela BB und Jessica von Bredow-Werndl für Deutschland. Wir kommen zum zweiten Platz im FII Dressage World Cup Grand Prix, präsent bei Grand Hotel Les Trois Basel mit 78,261% an DSP Quantas und Isabell Werth, Deutschland. Und auf dem dritten Platz stehen mit 75,609% Hardtime Car und Dinja van Liere, Niederlande. Wir bedanken uns an dieser Stelle recht herzlich bei Grand Hotel Les Trois Basel, presenting Sponsor des FII Dressage World Cup Grand Prix. Ein persönlicher Dank an Philippe Claravant, General Manager des Grand Hotels Les Trois. Herzlichen Dank allen Protagonistinnen und Protagonisten für den tollen Dressur Grand Prix am heutigen Samstag. Herzliche Gratulation an die Siegerin Jessica von Bredow-Werndl, an Isabell Werth und Dinja van Liere. Wir bitten um die Ehrenrunde. Dinja van Liere und Hartzager. Bredow-Werndl. Meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, kurze Verschnaufpause für Sie, bevor es sportlich weitergeht mit Sprintsport, nämlich um 16:25 Uhr mit dem Ganzspringen um den Preis der Dach- und Holztech.